Hey guys, it's Mrs. Dewar. Today's video is on slope. When you hear the word slope, you probably think of a hill, or perhaps you think skiing. The slope is a number that describes the direction and the steepness of a line. We usually refer to slope as a rate of change or sometimes as rise over run. For example, the slope 2/5 means for every 2 units you rise up, you run 5 units to the right. Let's look at this on a graph. So let's take that 2/5, and again, that means up 2 units for every 5 you move to the right. We need a point to start on. So we'll start on the purple point that we popped up there. And so from there, we're going to rise 2 units and run 5 units to the right. And that will give us a second point on the line. And you can keep doing that. Up 2 units, 5 units to the right will give you another point on the line. And once you have at least 2 points, you can see where the line falls. A negative slope, what you'll need to do is determine if you want to use the negative with the numerator or with the denominator. If you use it with the numerator here, that means we're going to go down 1. The negative will have us go down instead of up. And then we'll still move to the right 3 units because the 3 is positive. If you use the negative with the denominator, then your 1 is positive, so you move up. And the -3 means go to the left 3 units. Either way will work. So let's get a point on the line. I'm just going to give you a point here to start with. If we try it the first way, we go down 1 unit and to the right 3, we get to another point on our line. Now, if we start with that same point that we started with the first time, and we do it the second way, we go up 1 unit and left 3, we get a different point, but it's on the same line, and it still creates the same line that we got the first time. So it doesn't matter if you use the negative with the numerator or the denominator, but definitely don't use it twice, just one time. Now, notice that if you have a positive slope, your line will be rising as you move to the right. And if you have a negative slope, it falls as it moves to the right. So you can take a look at your line and automatically determine if the slope is positive or negative. And sometimes that helps you answer a question or at least have an idea of what the answer will look like. Now, there are 2 special cases we're going to look at. Consider the slope equals 0. Now, for graphing purposes, what I'm going to do is make the 0/1 because we like to have a numerator and a denominator so that we know how far to rise and how far to run. So let's take a look at a graph, and I'm going to give you a point to start with. And if we're going to use this slope, 0 units up means don't go up at all, and then 1 unit to the right puts us right here. And it creates a horizontal line. And what happens is with any 0 or 0 over any number, when the slope is 0, we always get a horizontal line. Now, our second special case is the undefined slope. And undefined means 0 would be in the denominator. And it doesn't matter what is in the numerator, just as long as 0 is in the denominator, it qualifies as an undefined slope. So for our graphing purposes, I put 2/0. So I'll show you what this does. Now, this means the numerator is telling you to go up 2 units and the denominator is telling you to run 0 units. So if you're given a graph and you have at least 1 point on the line, you can use the slope to get a second point. Rise 2 units and then run 0 units means you don't go over at all, and so your point ends up right there. And this will always create a vertical line. So every time you have an undefined slope, it will result in a vertical line. Now let's take a look at the slope formula. To calculate the slope given 2 points, we use the slope formula. We get the formula by rise over run, and that means the change in y over the change in x's. And so the formula given 2 points would be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'll show you how this works. Given 2 points, and I just gave you 2 points over here as an example, I like to label one of them x1, y1, and the other one x2, y2. And you can switch those around, it doesn't matter, but it keeps me organized to label them. Now what I'll do is sub those values in. So y2 you can see is 7, so we'll replace that. And y1 is the y value in the other ordered pair, that's 6. And then the x's go in the denominator. So x2 is 12, and it says minus, and then x1 is 4. So I just replace all those values, and then I just calculate. 7 minus 6 is 1, 12 minus 4 is 8, my slope is 1/8. Now I just want to take a look at what happens if we reverse those points, and we let 12, 7 be the first point and 4, 6 be the second point. So this time you would have y2 would be 6 and y1 would be 7, so you would have 6 minus 7. And then in the denominator, x2 would be 4 and x1 would be 12, so they're just turned around. 6 minus 7 is -1, 4 minus 12 is -8, the negatives cancel, and if you remember from the last time, the answer was 1/8, so you can see that we get the same answer. Let's do another slope formula. Here are two different points, and so let's call the first one x1, y1, and the second one x2, y2. And let's sub them in the formula. There are your y's, x2. Now this time we have minus a negative because x1 happens to be -3. So minus a negative in the denominator changes to plus. Then calculate. 6 minus 4 is 2, 9 plus 3 is 12, and always reduce. This answer is 1/6. Now I want to take a look at a graph and calculate slope given a graph. So when you're given a graph, you want to choose 2 points on the graph, and although there are infinite many points on the line, I try to choose 2 that are right on the grid so that I can count and sort of get the slope a little easier. So let's pick 2 points that we can find right on the grid. And I highlighted 2 here. They're not the only 2, but they work. So what I want to do is calculate how far I would have to rise, that would be my numerator, and then how far I would have to run, that would be my denominator. And I want you to think for a minute about what this line looks like and recall what we talked about earlier in terms of whether this would be positive or negative. And so hopefully you remember that if a line rises as it moves to the right, it's a positive slope. So we do expect to get a positive slope. Now, counting from one point to the other, I would rise up 1. That would be my numerator. And then I would go to the right 3. That would be my denominator. So the slope is 1/3. And it is positive. We said it would be positive, so that all worked. And I want to do one more. Let's identify 2 points on the line. So just kind of take a look at that line, and what you're looking for is where does it intersect the grid, right on the grid. And so I'm going to choose 2 points here that kind of intersect right on the grid. And then I'm going to do my rise over run. And this time, if you count from the top point down, you would be going down 2. So that's -2. And then you would move to the right 3, and to the right is positive. So this slope is -2/3. And remember, if it falls as it moves to the right, like this line does, you would always expect a negative slope. So that's all for today. If you're interested in the unit that goes along with this video, check out my Teacher Pay Teacher store. And if you like the video and you learned something, click like and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.